Mm-mm. Hello, friends. hello. Hope you're having a great day today. So I'm not sure if I let you guys know that I would be on tonight. So hopefully my normal girlies that join in for Bible study will be on here because we typically do Bible study Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hello, there y'all are. Oh gosh, I knew y'all would be here. Hello, Becky. Hello, Caitlin. Hello, Aubrey. Hello. Yellow is your color. Thank you so much. That is so sweet of you. Oh my word. Okay. Hey y'all, happy Thursday. I'm so excited to jump into Bible study with y'all tonight. I feel like it has been forever since I have seen y'all. Hello, Cassie. So I'm just trying to have a little recap of last week. Hello, Nicole. Hello, Sister Fran. So little recap of last week. I had planned to do Bible study again on Friday like I did the week before because Friday just somehow conveniently worked better for me. But then something came up on Friday and I couldn't do it. And so I'll let you guys know over on Instagram that I was just canceling Bible study because it was just a lot of rescheduling and I didn't want y'all to get all confused. Hello. And so today we are on schedule. So I'm super excited to jump into God's Word with y'all tonight and to start in or to continue our series on Esther, or our series Women of the Bible, in particular, Esther. So thank y'all for being patient with me, for bearing with me as I kind of figure out, navigate Bible study during the summer season. Y'all know I'm off of school, so life gets crazy and busy. And, I want to say thank y'all for being patient with me and just being so understanding. It means a lot to me in my heart. So, let's see. I went back because I read a little bit more in Esther, and then I just kind of stopped it because I wanted to study it with y'all. And so I had to kind of do a refresher of where we left off in Esther. And we left off at chapter 3. And so we're just going to kind of jump into things. I know we probably all have a big weekend planned with family and fireworks and freedom. And so I don't want to keep y'all up too late. I'm losing my string here. So tell me first, let's chat. Tell me what your plans are for the 4th. What do you and your family do? Talk to me about your 4th plans so we can get everybody on here and ready to talk more about Esther. I also have some music in the background. I pray that it is not too much. If it is, y'all tell me and I'll turn it down because I don't know how loud it may come off or come through. We're going to the beach. My birthday is Monday. The beach is always a fun idea, girl. Hello. I'm going to a horse show with my mom and her cousin. Then we're grilling out. Girl, that sounds American. That sounds so much fun. Friends, family, and fireworks. Yep. So I will actually be going to the lake for the 4th. I'm super excited. I'm sure some fireworks will be involved. What's 4th of July without fireworks? Lake on Sunday and cooking out. Yay! So we have 2 birthdays on Saturday. South Carolina girl here going to Fripp. Have you been there? I have never been there. What is that? Because I'm not too far from South Carolina. Oh my God, I make it. Yes, you did, Tina. Hello, girl. Welcome to Bible study. Going to the lake. So glad to see you're on live tonight. Needed to pick me up. Really emotionally hurting tonight. Well, girl, I got something that's going to speak to your heart. It's going to lift your spirits. And I just feel it in my heart that it's going to help you out today. So we're going to rest in that. Also, up here, I cut my eyebrow or my eyelid. It looks like something's on me, but it's a cut. Don't even ask me. It was a Hot Mess Express kind of moment. Oh my gosh, no. Okay, I know what you're talking about. I'm going to look that up. I turned 30 on Saturday. Well, happy early birthday, girl. What are we studying? We are going to continue our series, Women of the Bible, and we are going to jump into Esther part 2. And it's probably going to have 3 parts, so yes. Okay, let me give y'all a little rundown real quick before we jump into God's Word. All of my Bible studies, they all get uploaded to YouTube the night of. Y'all, not gonna lie, last week or the week before last, I was slacking and I forgot. And that next day I was like, oh my word. Actually, somebody reminded me on Instagram. I was like, oh my word, I forgot to post it. So last week's Bible study session is posted now on YouTube. If you did not watch that, you definitely need to go watch that before you watch this one. So just save this one for tomorrow on the way to work or while you're sitting drinking your coffee, whatever it may be. And so, yeah, they're all posted to YouTube, so you can go and you can access them whenever. You can send them to your family, your friends, someone who needs a little pick-me-up. Send it, like, in the morning when you wake up, just pray. Like, have someone on your mind, someone that you feel God is leaning you towards. Send them this Bible study and say, thinking about you. You know, I don't know. Just something sweet and special for someone close to you. So what days and times? I typically do these Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to announce this because I think last time I kind of failed to do so. But if there's any sort of update on my Bible studies, y'all, they will be over on my Instagram because it's kind of hard. For some reason, TikTok likes to take away features as soon as they give you the blessing of them. And it won't let me post a story on TikTok anymore. So all of my Bible study updates go to my Instagram story, and I'll let you guys know, like, if we're delaying it, rescheduling it, whatever. And you can follow me on Instagram over. If you go to my bio here on TikTok, there's a little square. Click that little square, and it will redirect you to my Instagram and my YouTube. And both of those places, you'll find Bible study deets. So, also, I want to say, my Bible is a She Reads Truth Bible. It's my favorite Bible. It's a great Bible for anyone that has been in, knows Scripture and does read the Word often, or someone who has never read it before. I thoroughly enjoy it. I do have it linked to my Amazon storefront. Yay! You're so welcome. So I have this linked to my Amazon storefront, and I also have it linked in my Like to Know It. So whichever platform you prefer, it's there. And then I also, in Amazon, I have my Bible tabs linked also. These are so good. If you're learning the Bible and you're new to reading it, then you definitely need them because it helps you navigate the Bible so much better. It's crazy. And everything else is linked there too. So if you want to know where something's at, check out Amazon, check out my Like to Know It, and you're sure to find it. Last thing I want to mention, I always say this, it's always like my kind of disclaimer because I just feel the need to say it. Thank you, Hannah. So I am no Bible expert. Never have claimed to be, and that is why we are studying the Bible, and I'm not teaching you the Bible. There are many things that I do not know. There are many things that I will stumble on. Even some of the best theologians that literally pour themselves into the Bible every single day to know and interpret it all don't know what the Bible is saying. So I just want to put that out there. There's going to be some things where I'm like, I have no idea what that word is, but we're just going to roll with it. And so I just want to put that out there because I want you to know it's okay to reference your table of contents. It's okay to use your Bible tabs. It's okay to not know a certain name. That's why we're studying it. That's why we're pouring ourselves into it so that it can pour into our lives. And I just want to say that. So a lot of times I'll read a name on here. I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but I'll just call it by the first initial. So if I do that, just roll on with me. Your Bible may say this name, and you're like, that doesn't say that, or that doesn't, that's not what's on my end, but y'all know, that's how it works. So we're going to say a quick little prayer, and I'm going to jump into Esther. If you're looking for Esther, it is right behind, Ezra and Psalms. So go and find Ezra and Psalms in your Old Testament, and it is sandwiched in between those two. I have 145 of y'all on here. Hello. If you're new here, welcome to our little Bible study. I do these every night, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you join us next week for more Bible. Okay, let's say a quick prayer. Make sure I got. Okay. Dear Lord, thank you for this day, and thank you for all of our many blessings. Thank you for this platform that allows me to get on here and just share your goodness. I pray that whatever we read tonight, it really speaks to our heart, and it also reciprocates out into our life. Lord, may your goodness overflow in what we do and where we go. Thank you for all these girls who come together to not only support me, but also, Lord, to just submerge themselves and to just really pour into you also, Lord. Bless all of the ears who listen. Thank you, Lord, in your sweet and precious name. Amen. Hello. Okay, so I have a highlighter and a pen because last week or week before last Bible study I didn't, and there were some things I was like I didn't catch on, and like when I went back to Esther and I was like, where did this come from? I didn't mark it, so I don't know. So this week I have my highlighter and my pen. Feel free to grab it if you want to. You don't need to, but I am a firm believer that if you mark your Bible, it'll mark you. So keep that in mind. Oh, yeah, you're so welcome, girl. Thank you so much. I love my Bible, so definitely if you're on the hunt for a new one, this one's great. They also have a He Reads Truth, so if there's any guy in your life and you want to give them a Bible, or you're just looking a good recommendation for a guy's Bible, then they do have the He Reads Truth. Okay. So, quick little small recap. We're going to kind of like jump back and forth in between the first two chapters and begin with chapter 3. So, we've got this girl named Esther, remember? And we've got Mordecai. Mordecai is her uncle. He has adopted Esther. And where we left off is that, well, first of all, we talked about how throughout the first two chapters, there is a lot of moral corruption. So we see that there is the king, and he's drinking a lot. So we see alcoholism, or the use of alcohol, intoxication. And we also see the whole like ordeal with women. We see that women were viewed more so as objects. These women would come into the place. It's not a castle. I don't even know. I'll have to look back. The palace, I think. They would come in and they would go through these like trials pretty much to see if the king like deemed them of their beauty pretty much. If they were worthy of his favor, if they were worthy of what he had, that sort of thing. And so women were viewed more so as objects than people. And so we see that moral corruption. And obviously there was a lot more to that as well, because don't you remember, I can't remember the first queen's name. Yeah, Queen. Y'all, I should know this, shouldn't I? But I don't. I'm not perfect. Vashti, Queen Vashti. So she is who the king had before, but because she didn't obey him and she pretty much made a fool of him in front of all these people at this big party, he was like, go get lost or whatever. Well, he wanted her to reveal her beauty to them. And so through that, we can kind of see that women, there may have been a sense of lust there. We don't really know. We're just kind of giving little hints. So we do see alcohol, lots of alcohol, to the point where the king did not even remember what he had done. He didn't even remember that he had totally gotten rid of Queen Vashti. So he was like out of his mind. He was drunk pretty much. And then we also see the whole stigma based around women also. So the last thing that we read was that Mordecai sees or hears conversation from the two gatekeepers that they are going to kill the king. Obviously, Mordecai is very close with Esther, and Esther has now been deemed the new queen. And Mordecai is going to put a little birdie in Esther's ear and say, hey, these two men, they're going to kill the king. And then in return, we're going to see this, but in return, the king is going to pretty much deem Mordecai a hero for saving his life. So that's kind of where we left off. Also, last session, I reminded y'all to kind of pay attention to the fact that God is never mentioned in this story, in the book of Esther, which is kind of crazy because this is the Bible, and you would feel like because it is inspired and designed by God himself that he would be somehow in it. Like, not necessarily saying that God is full of himself or that he's going to be in everything or wants to be a part of everything. That's not what I'm saying. But you would think there would be some sort of aspect of God, and there's not. And so I want you to, as we read through, and me too, pay attention to that and begin to question, like, why is that so? Why is he absent from Esther, and what is that trying to teach our heart? So we're going to start reading, and I'm going to pick up on chapter 3. So it says, actually, we're going to come up here to chapter 2, verse 19, and just kind of start back, kind of revert back. So it says, when the virgins were gathered a second time, Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate. Esther still did not reveal her family background or her ethnicity. As Mordecai had directed, she obeyed Mordecai's orders as she always had while he raised her. So remember, Esther is Jewish, and we're going to learn why it's important and why Mordecai really did not want him to reveal her ethnicity and who she was to the king. And so at this time, she's still being the queen. She's not revealed who she is, her background, her family history, or anything like that. It says, during those days, Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, and two of the king's eunuchs who guarded the entrance became infuriated and planned to assassinate the king. When Mordecai learned of this plot, so he's pretty much like eavesdropping here and over here in their conversation. Hello, Ayla. And so it says, when Mordecai learned of this plot, he reported it to Queen Esther, and she told the king. When the report was investigated and verified, both men were hanged on the gallows. This event was recorded in the historical record in the king's presence. So, pretty much, Esther tells the king, and the king is like, okay, like, get rid of them because they're trying to kill me, and then he's going to deem Mordecai as hero and saving his life. I'm not sure if I have a moderator in here, but I'm going to put somebody as one. So, if you get moderator status. Thank you. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we're going to move into chapter 3. After all this took place, King A honored Haman, son of y'all, I told you I didn't know, the Agagite. He promoted him in rank and gave him a higher position than all the other officials. The entire royal staff at the king's gate bowed down and paid homage to Haman, because the king had commanded this be done for him. But Mordecai would not bow down or pay homage. Okay, so after this took place, after the two men were killed, the king is going to honor Haman, which was son of some Agagite. He then promoted him in rank and gave him a higher position. And the king asked that all of the royal staff at the king's gate, Mordecai included, were to bow down to him and give him homage. Well, Mordecai's like, no, not doing that, not doing that. So he doesn't bow down, he doesn't pay homage to him. And it says, the members of the royal staff, or at verse 3, of the royal staff at the king's gate asked Mordecai, why are you disobeying the king's command? When they had warned him day after day, he still would not listen to them. They told Haman in order to see if Mordecai's actions would be tolerated, since he had told them he was a Jew. I'm going to go back to that. Verse 4. When they had warned him day after day, and he still would not listen to them, they told Haman in order to see if Mordecai's actions would be tolerated, since he told them he was a Jew. So Mordecai, thank you, Jessica. Oh, my word, I feel so much better. So Mordecai told them that he was a Jew, and they pretty much said, they're pretty much warning Mordecai, like that, like something's going to happen here because you are not bowing down to the king, you're not listening to his command, or you're not bowing down to Haman, and you're not listening to the king's commands. And we're going to see what happens from there. So it says, when Haman saw that Mordecai was not bowing down or paying him homage, he was filled with rage. And when he learned of Mordecai's ethnic identity, it seemed repugnant. Repugnant? You know that word? I think that's right. To Haman to do away with Mordecai alone. He planned to destroy all of Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout the king's kingdom. Okay, so this is where we're going to have a bit of a plot twist. because now it's kind of like the whole story of Esther has kind of come to a crossroads. We've got Mordecai, one of the gatekeepers, and him and the other gatekeepers have been commanded by the king to bow down to Haman and to pay him homage. Mordecai's like, no, I'm not doing that. They are aware of Mordecai's ethnicity. They know he's Jewish. And when Haman finds out that he's not bowing down to him and doing as he wishes, or as they have been commanded pretty much by the king, he's like, okay, like we're going to get rid of this guy, and not only are we going to get rid of him, but we're going to get rid of all of his people. Remember, if we skip up a couple verses, we know that Esther is a Jew. We know that Esther also is along the same family bloodline as Mordecai. And we're going to see what happens from there. So, verse 7, it says, in the first month, the month of Nisan, in King A's 12th year, that is, the lot, was cast before Haman for each day in each month, and it fell on the 12th month, the month of Adar. Then Haman informed the king, there's one ethnic group scattered throughout the peoples in every province of your kingdom, keeping themselves separate. Their lot, he's referring to the Jewish. Their laws are different from everyone else's, and they do not obey their king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If the king approves, let an order be drawn up by authorizing their destruction, and I will pay 375 tons of silver to officials for deposit in the royal treasury. So pretty much, Haman goes to the king and he says, hey, there's a certain group of people. They're not wanting to follow the rules. We don't want to tolerate this. If you approve, then if you approve and you plan to seek out and kill all of them, destroy them, then I will pay this amount of money, 375 tons of silver. Y'all can't talk, to the royal treasury. Okay. The king removed his ring from his hand, and he gave it to Haman's son of Hammedatha. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. The Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. Then the king told Haman, the money and people are given to you to do with as you see fit. So pretty much, the king has given Haman, like, what he wants, pretty much. He's like, okay, here we are, and, like, he's pretty much saying, okay, like, this is what you want, have it. And so he says, the money and the people are given you to do with you as you see fit. All right, we're going to go to verse 12. We're going to see what Haman decides to do. That's right. Oh, my Lord. Okay, so verse 12, it says, the royal scribes were summoned on the 13th day of the first month, and the order was written exactly as Haman commanded. Pretty much to get rid of all of these Jewish people who he felt weren't obeying the king and were like totally going against the rules and all that kind of stuff. It says, where are we at? It was intended for the royal straps, the governors of each of the provinces, and the officials of each ethnic group, and written for each province in its own script, and to each ethnic group in its own language. It was written in the name of King A and sealed with the royal ring. Letters were sent by the couriers to each of the royal provinces telling the officials to destroy, kill, and annihilate all of the Jewish people, young and old, women and children, and plunder their possessions on a single day, the 13th day of Adar, the 12th month. So this whole chunk right here, verse 12 through verse, I guess that would be 13, this big old chunk is basically just telling us how this happened, how it went about. Each governor of each province received a letter, and the letter was sealed with the ring. Okay, so I got a question real quick. It says, why are they getting rid of all the Jewish people? They're getting rid of all the Jewish people because Mordecai, which was one of the, hang on just a minute, y'all. Okay, I hate to have to block people, but y'all, some people are just mean, and we don't need that kind of negative energy on here. So the reason that they are going after all the Jewish people is because Mordecai was Jewish, and he was not wanting to listen to what Haman was wanting, pretty much. Haman was the king commanded all of the people to bow down and to pay homage to Haman. And Mordecai was like, nope, not doing it. Haman gets upset. He realizes that Mordecai is Jewish, and he's like, okay, get rid of all the Jewish people. They send out these letters to all the different governors of each province, and they say, hey, all the Jewish people need to go. Women, men, children, old and young, and then their possessions need to be plundered through. At verse 14, it says, a copy of the text is issued as law throughout every province, and it was distributed to all the people so that they might get ready for that day. The couriers left, spurred on by royal command, and the law was issued in the fortress of Susa. The king and Haman sat down to drink while the city of Susa was in confusion. That part right there, y'all. So they have literally caused such, like, could you imagine, like, each governor getting a letter saying, hey, like, all this whole group of people, like, you need to go inside within your province and you need to find every Jewish person and they need to be gone. Like, can you imagine the stress, the confusion, the overwhelm, the anxiety, the sadness that took about at that time? And the two people that had plotted this plan, the two people that were kind of arms crossed behind the scheme, are sitting here drinking, having a grand old time, just waiting for this to be done. I don't know. That just kind of sits wrong in my spirit. So we're going to keep going. We're going to find out what happens right here. I feel like Esther is going to have a big to-do with what's about to happen. So, chapter 4, it says, when Mordecai learned all that had occurred, he tore his clothes, put on a sackcloth and ashes, and he went into the middle of the city, and he cried loudly and bitterly. He went only as far as the king's gate, since the law prohibited anyone wearing sackcloth from entering the king's gate. There was a great mourning among the Jewish people in every province where the king's command and edict reached. They fasted and they wept and they lamented, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Mordecai goes to the center of the town. Why is he turning on him? Why is who turning on who? I love when y'all ask me questions because I feel like sometimes I get ahead of myself. So stop me if you feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. Never expect less when the word of the Lord is being spoken. The devil tries to go to... Yes, that is true. So Mordecai goes into the center of the city, the center of the town, whatever you want to call. He's crying. He's upset. He realizes that he and his people are going to be destroyed, pretty much. He puts on a sackcloth. He puts on ashes. He goes as far as the king's gate because you couldn't get through the king's gate if you're wearing a sackcloth. And it says right here that there were a lot of other people in a sackcloth also. They fasted and they wept and they lamented, and many lay in the sackcloth and ashes. Okay. Esther's feet. So we're at verse 4. He will set a table for us in the presence of our enemies. Yes. Esther's female servants and her eunuchs came and reported the news to her. So at this point in time, Mordecai, he knows what's going on. He's going to the city. He's crying. He's weeping. He's fasting. He's lamenting. He's upset. Him and all of his people are going to be destroyed because of him, pretty much. He's to blame because he did not bow down to Haman. And during all of this, his adopted niece, because that was her uncle, his adopted niece has no idea what's going on until now. So her servants come and they report the news to her, and she was overcome with fear. Obviously, this man, Mordecai, we learned many times throughout the book so far that he was like pretty much the only person she had. He took care of her. He was her uncle, he was her only family member, her only blood. And obviously when she finds this out, she's fearful. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know what's going to happen. And it says she sent clothes for Mordecai to wear so that he would take off his sackcloth, but he did not accept them. So then Esther summoned Hathach, I don't even know, we're going to say H, one of the king's eunuchs who attended her, and dispatched him to Mordecai to learn what he was doing and why. So H went out to Mordecai in the city square in front of the king's gate. Mordecai told him everything that had happened, as well as the exact amount of money that Haman had promised to pay the royal treasury for the slaughter of the Jews. That's 375 tons of silver that Haman had promised to pay the treasury if all the Jews got killed. So he's telling that to H. We're just going to call him Hat. We're going to call him Hat. He's telling that to H or Hat, and he's like, hey, like he's going to, if all the Jews get killed, then the royal treasury gets this amount of money from Haman, and this is what's going on. So he's pretty much briefing Haman, he's pretty much briefing Hat so that Hat can go back to Esther and tell what's going on. So at verse 8 it says, Mordecai also gave him a copy of the written decree issued in Susa, which is the one about killing all the Jews. And it says, ordering their destruction, so that Hat might show it to Esther, explain it to her, and command her to approach the king. So, pretty much what Mordecai's wanting is he is wanting Esther to approach the king. And I'm interested to see exactly how this plays out. Is she going to go and tell the king that she's actually Jewish too? So she's going to be under this decree as well. So if they get destroyed and 375 tons of silver is paid to the treasury, then they're also going to have to kill the queen, the king's queen. Like, let's just see. Okay. And so Hat came and reported Mordecai's response to Esther. Esther spoke to, it's a Christian Standard Version. It's a CSV. Esther spoke to Hat and commanded him to tell Mordecai, all the royal officials and the people of the royal provinces know that one law applies to every man or woman who approaches the king in their inner courtyard and who has not been summoned, the death penalty, unless the king extends a gold scepter, allowing that person to live. I have not been summoned to appear before the king for the last 30 days. Esther's response was reported to Mordecai. So basically what she's saying is that if you weren't summoned by the king to come and be in his presence, then it resulted in you pretty much dying, the death penalty. And she's saying, it's been 30 days since I have been last summoned by the king. So like, what do I do now? Because if I go in his presence and I come to him with a request or whatever it may be, then I'm going to receive the death penalty. Mordecai, we're at verse 13, chapter 4. It says, Mordecai told the messenger to reply to Esther, don't think that you will escape. Mordecai told the messenger to reply to Esther, don't think that you will escape the fate of all the Jews because you are in the king's palace. If you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come to the Jewish people from another place, but you and your father's family will be destroyed. Who knows, perhaps you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. That's my favorite verse ever in the Bible. It's my favorite Bible verse ever. I have it plastered on my mirror upstairs in my room. It's Esther 4:14. It's a little bit different. You'll see different, like the KJV version and different versions you'll see online. But I love this because pretty much Esther's fearful. She's allowing fear and doubt and worry to kind of creep in. And Mordecai's saying, hey, like, just because, like, even if you do stay silent and you don't tell the king, of your ethnicity, you don't let him in on the fact that you also are Jewish. And if he gets rid of all of the Jews in all the provinces, then he's going to have to get rid of you too. Then it's not going to, you're not going to get away from it. It's still going to happen to you. Like, just because you're in the palace, just because you hold a royal title and position does not mean that it's not going to happen to you as well. And so he says, take heart, get some strength, rely on the Lord. It doesn't say that. It doesn't mention God whatsoever. But pretty much is what he's saying is perhaps you were made for such a time as this. Perhaps you were placed in that position so that you could stand up and you could do what the Lord would have for you to do, so that you can defy the enemy and you can pretty much use who you are to fight back whatever may be coming your way. Perhaps the time that you were planted in right now was made for you and you were made for it. So that's my favorite verse ever. We're at chapter 4, verse 14. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm kind of catching back up. And I just love that because, no matter what you're going through, I don't even know, whatever battle you're facing right now, whatever situation you're in right now, there's a reason why you're going through it. And I always tell myself, if I'm just going through something, whatever, it might not even be a situation, but it could be like a title, a position, or something that you've kind of walked into, but you're like, I'm not even supposed to be here. This isn't my normal atmosphere. God, why do you have me here? And I always tell myself, perhaps you were made for this moment. Perhaps where you are at right now is where you are going to discover your purpose in life. So don't ever denote and don't ever doubt where God has you, because it could be that very exact season, that very exact circumstance or situation where God is going to use you. He's going to reveal your purpose to you, and you are going to step up, use His strength to move you forward, and you were made for this time, and the time was made for you, so go get it. Okay, so we are going to jump ahead, and we're going to go to chapter 4, verse 15. It says, Esther sent this reply to Mordecai. Go and assemble all the Jews who can be found in Susa and fast for me. Don't eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. Me and my female servant will also fast in the same way. After that, I will go to the king, even if it is against the law. If I perish, I perish." So Mordecai went and did everything Esther had commanded him. Yay, Natalie. I'm so glad we could speak to your heart, girl. So now Esther hears Mordecai's reply, and she's like, "Okay, this is what I need you to do. I need you to gather all of the Jews within Susa. I need you to fast for 3 days. Me and my female servant, we're going to be doing the same sort of fasting. Fasting, I heard this not too long ago, but fasting allows you to take your focus and your energy and your efforts off of other things and only focus on one thing. And so I think fasting for them, and who knows? I mean, fasting doesn't necessarily have to be not eating. It could have been from whatever they chose to fast from. I don't know exactly what they did during this time. I can't answer that. Not that knowledgeable. But I believe that Esther wanted them to fast so that they could really pour their energy. Lainey is snoring. They could really pour their energy and their time and their devotion to the Lord so that the Lord would pull them through this. It doesn't say that, but I think that's what it's trying to convey. And she says, "Okay, you need to fast for 3 days. I'm going to go before the king. He hasn't summoned me. He hasn't requested me to be in his presence, but I'm going anyways. If I perish, I perish." And she pretty much just has that kind of faith, that kind of no bones about it kind of faith. And so, yes. And she's like, "You know what? It doesn't matter what happens. I have to stand up. I have to know that the Lord is going to pull me through. He's going to give me this strength. He's going to equip me with the armor needed to come through this situation. Perhaps I was made for this. Perhaps all of these things have aligned for me. Perhaps I have this title. I have this position. I have this job. I have this, whatever it may be. Fill in the blank with whatever we're going through right now. Perhaps I have this so that I can use it to my best ability, so that God can use me in whatever He would have." Can I tell you that there's not one thing that you're going through in your life, or that you have been through in your life, that God is not using for your testimony. Not one thing. It doesn't even, I know, you think there are just such minute details in your life, and you're like, that doesn't even matter. That had nothing to do. Yes. Even the small details God is in, and He is using them to write your story and to fulfill your purpose. And if you're going through something right now, and you're feeling like fear is creeping in, doubt is creeping in, worry is creeping in, whatever it may be, once again, fill in the blank. You need to know that it is a part. I wear a cross ring on the same finger. Yes, it is a part of your story and your testimony, and it is going to reveal your obedience and your faith to Jesus. And so that's pretty much what Esther does here. She's like, "Okay, I'm going before the king. If I perish, I perish. Let's get going on it." All right, we are going to jump into chapter 5, and then we're going to finish there, and we are going to finish up Esther next time. So let's read chapter 5 real quick. So here we're going to learn God is in the story. Yes, He is in the details. I'm telling you, it's crazy, because you'll be going through something in your life. And you're like, where is God? He is non-existent in what I'm going through. You can't have the hope. You can't have the peace. You just feel like God is totally absent from what you're going through. And then years down the road, months down the road, weeks down the road, you look back and you're like, I saw God all over that. I know why He was doing that. And I have a direct little sprinkle in my testimony with that, because there's things that I've been through, just as recent as last summer. And I'm during the moment, I was so upset. I was so heartbroken. I began to doubt God, and I began to be like, God, why are you putting me through this? And no matter, y'all, I doubted Him every single day. And my faithfulness began to grow shallow. My faith began to grow shallow every single day. And even then, He still picked me up, and He still listened to my heart, and He still worked in wondrous ways. And now when I'm looking back, I'm like, I see exactly what You were doing, God. I see that Your rejection of this person in my life, of this thing in my life, has redirected me and has put me where I am now. And I can't thank You enough for that. So just because it feels like God is absent, we're going to get to this again. We're going to dive deeper into that at the end of Esther. But just because it feels like God is absent in your story right now, Take heart, have the faith, stay obedient, and continue to trust him, because he is going to use this little sprinkle of a detail in your life to make like huge moves. So just get ready. It's so hard when you're in it. It is. It's so hard. It's discouraging. It's uncomfortable. It's full of fear. It's full of worry and doubt and anxiety and depression and other things. I'm telling you, if you push through and you lean on the Lord and you trust in him, he will use that little thing in there to make like crazy moves in your life. He has big and better plans for you. You just need to be still. Okay, so on the third day, Esther dressed in her royal clothing, and she stood in the inner courtyard of the palace and facing it. The king was sitting on his royal throne in his royal courtroom, facing its entrance. And as soon as the king saw Esther standing in the courtyard, hold on, I've lost my point. I lost my spot. Y'all, I gotta get her to stop snoring. Okay, I threw a highlighter at her. So she comes out into the courtyard. The king's sitting there on his royal throne facing the entrance. And we're at verse 2, chapter 5. As soon as the king saw Queen Esther standing there, she gained favor with him. So we just learned that if the king hadn't summoned you, then you get the death penalty. But we're seeing here that as soon as the king saw Esther, he gave favor to her. The king extended the gold scepter in his hand towards Esther, and she approached and touched the tip of the scepter. So we also learned that if he doesn't give you the death penalty, then unless he extends the gold scepter, then you will get the death penalty. But we see right here that when Esther comes before the king, he leans out the gold scepter, she touches it, and that's her okay to come and present whatever to him. So he says, "What is it, Queen Esther?" The king asked her. "Whatever you want, even to half the kingdom, will be given to you." He's got a lot of favor in her, y'all. Like, he is probably, like, maybe I can just imagine her as, like, up here it says that she had her royal clothing. Like, I just imagine this beautiful dress and these beautiful jewels, and she's all, like, fancied up to go before the king. And he probably just looks at her, and he probably, like, is just he adores her. He's in awe of her beauty. She is the queen, and he's like, whatever you need, I'm gonna make it happen. Even if you want half the kingdom, it's yours. She said, in verse 4, it says, "If it pleases the king," Esther replied, "may the king and Haman come today to the banquet I have prepared for them." So she's got a banquet prepared, and she says, "Come, you and Haman, come to this banquet." The king said, "Hurry and get Haman so we can do as Esther has requested." So the king and Haman went to the banquet Esther had prepared. While they were drinking the wine, the king asked Esther, "Whatever you ask will be given to you. Whatever you want, even to half the kingdom, will be done." So they're at the banquet. They're drinking wine, and he again reminds Esther and says, "Hey, whatever you want, you're going to get it. What do you need?" Esther answered, "This is my petition and my request. If I have found favor in the eyes of the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition and perform my request, may the king and Haman come to the banquet I will prepare for them. Tomorrow I will do what the king has asked." Okay? That day, Haman left full of joy and in good spirits. So she still has not revealed to the king exactly what's going on, what she needs, what's on her heart, what her petition is. She says, "Hey, I got another banquet, and tomorrow I'll reveal to you whatever." Haman leaves full of joy and good spirits. This is pretty much saying that he's had a lot of wine. He's full of joy and good spirits. But when Haman saw Mordecai at the king's gate, and Mordecai didn't rise or tremble in fear at his presence, Haman was filled with rage. So Haman leaves the banquet where he's still unsure of exactly what Esther needs and her request is. He's full of good spirits. He feels good. He's had a good time. He gets out to the king's gate and he sees Mordecai, the Jew that initiated the decree, and he's like filled with rage because he sees them. They were supposed to be gone. He put in a request. He was going to put money towards the royal treasury to get rid of all the Jews, and he comes out after having a good time, and then he's there. Like, I know that you've I feel like at some point in your life, everybody's life, things are going good. You're coasting through life. Things seem to be daisies and roses and unicorn. and all the things, and then you're just splat, like you're just hit with something that you don't want to see. Sometimes you then begin to doubt God again, because you're like, God, like your promises were beginning to reveal themselves. My life was getting good. I was up here on the mountaintops. Things were going great. I was, with Thanksgiving, everything was going good, and then bam, something comes into your life, something comes into your path, whether it be a memory of the past, whether it be someone, something, and it just hits you. And sometimes we choose to be filled with rage. Sometimes it brings sadness. Sometimes it brings heartbreak. And a lot of times that is when we begin to question God, because we're like, God, you had me in the right direction. You had me where I thought I needed to be. I was content. I was happy. I was on the mountaintop, and here you have put me in a position where I'm now heartbroken again. I'm sad again. I'm filled with anger again. Like, where are you, and are you even here? And so it says, Mordecai didn't rise or tremble in fear. That's really what got Haman, like, upset or whatever. Haman's like, here I am. Like, I have put forth a decree to kill you and all of your people, and you're just going to stand in front of me without trembling, without shaking in your boots, pretty much. And it says at verse 10, yet Haman controlled himself and went home. He sent for his friends and his wife Zeresh to join him, and then Haman described for them his glorious wealth and his many sons. He told him all how the king had honored him and promoted him in rank over the other officials and the royal staff. What's more, Haman added, Queen Esther invited no one but me to join the king at the banquet she had prepared. So he thinks that he's getting favor with everybody. He thinks that the king has promoted him in rank. The king has honored his wishes to kill all the people, kill all the Jews. And now he thinks, like, Queen Esther, like, she's a big deal in this palace, and she's even invited me to her banquet. So he's like not letting the detail of Mordecai not trembling, not shaking, get to him, because he's like, I'm on top of the world. These people think I'm the bee's knees. Like, this is what's happening. And so then it says, I'm invited again tomorrow to join her with the king. Still, none of this satisfies me, since I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate all the time. So he's pretty much still filled with bitterness, because he's like, even though I'm on top of the world at the moment, the king, like, cherishes me. The queen cherishes me. I can't talk, y'all. I'm getting my words twisted. Like, I'm still not okay. It still upsets me that Mordecai's sitting in that king's gate still. So we're going to see what happens. So then verse 14, it says, his wife Zeresh and all his friends told him, have them build a gallows 75 feet tall. Ask the king in the morning to hang Mordecai on it. Then go to the banquet with the king and enjoy yourself. The advice pleased Haman, so the gallows constructed. All right, so this is going to take another little plot twist in the story, because we're not just talking about all the Jews now, and now we're targeting Mordecai. Mordecai, who has a direct relationship, who is literally, I had a word there, but I couldn't think of it, related to Esther. And they're saying, okay, take this man, build some gallows that are 75 feet high, take him, hang him, get rid of him. It'll, cut that bitter root in your heart and in your spirit. Go to the banquet, have a good time, enjoy yourself, be filled with joy, peace, and good spirits again. Everything's going to be all right. A lot of times I think about this and what we were just talking about in relation to, you go through things and things are going great, things are going good, you're on the mountaintops, bam, something hits you, you're back in the valley, you're like, God, where are you? And a lot of times when you're in that valley, that lowest of low in life, you're heartbroken, you're sad, you're depressed, you're grieving, whatever it may be that's causing you to have these negative emotions, that's causing you to doubt God, that's causing you to question his plan for your life. A lot of times you're going to turn to something that may not necessarily be what God would have for you, but because of the heartbreak and the sadness and the whole nine that I just named, you're going to turn to this one thing. And I feel like in this story, that's exactly what Haman does. Everything's going good. He's got favor with the king. He's got favor with the queen. He's going to banquets. He's having a good time. He's filled with good spirits. But there's one little bitter root inside of him. There's one little detail in his life and in his story that isn't going the way he wants it to go. So he's going to think that he can just turn to one thing. He's going to think that he can just kill Mordecai. He can just stop this one thing. He can just cause this one thing to exit his life, blah, 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 blah. And then everything's going to be good from then on. That's what he's pretty much thinking. But we're going to see that that's the exact opposite of what's going to happen to Haman, and the exact opposite of what's going to happen to the Jews. And it's going to allow God to reveal himself more and more without deliberately revealing himself in Esther. So that is all I have for you guys tonight, because we are at an hour and I have not eaten supper and my tummy is rumbly. We're going to pick up next week, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, y'all, unless I say otherwise on Instagram. But I'm pretty sure we'll be here again next Thursday. And we're going to pick up at chapter 6, and it's going to talk more about Mordecai and the king. And we're going to see Mordecai's role with the king. Because, again, y'all, Mordecai did kind of save the king's life because he overheard the gatekeeper's conversations. But the king has yet to recognize that. So we're going to see exactly what happens there and exactly how that affects the Jews, and how Esther plays a part, and how God is revealing himself, though not revealing himself, if that makes any sense. I love you. I hope you have a great night. I hope you have a wonderful weekend that you spend with family. You eat lots of yummy food. I pray that as we continue on through this week and weekend and into next week, go back and read chapters 3 through 5 and just kind of allow yourself to really soak into those fine details, because a lot of times I find that when I read my Bible, like, I understand it, I get it, it speaks to my heart, I feel like it's going well in my brain, pretty much is what I'm trying to say. And then I'll go back and read it. I'm like, oh, like I didn't notice that part. And I don't know. Every time you read it, it just reveals something different. So take the time to really dive deep into chapters 3 through 5. And we will pick back up next week at chapter 6. I love y'all. I've seen all of your sweet comments. I'm so sorry if I didn't get back to you. But I did see all of your sweet little comments. And y'all mean the world to me. Hope you know that Jesus loves you. I love you. And Brooklyn says, what podcasts or books do you read? So podcasts, I love Sadie Robertson's podcast. I also love the Call Her Holy by Nicoletta Bradley. I love Janina and Napola's podcast. I can't remember the name of it. I love Jonathan Pekluda. I don't know how to say his last name. I love his podcast. All these you can find on Spotify. That's the only place I stream. And then as far as books go, I'm not a huge book reader. I do have a couple of Sadie's books, which I love because she's just one of my favorites. And then obviously my Bible. Highly recommend What on Earth Am I Here For by Rick Warren. I would definitely look that one up. I also saw one on Amazon. It's by that Jonathan. Is it Jonathan? I think that's his first name. Pekluda. I don't know how to say his name. He's so good. He heads up a podcast with people my age, and they just talk on hard subjects. I really like them. But he has one called Why Do I Do What I Don't Want to Do? I want to buy that on Amazon because I've heard it's a really good read. But I'll let y'all guys know about that. Anyways, I'll see you guys next week. I love you lots, and have a good, happy 4th. Bye.